this is Tony Moran for MMA Latest and a new weekly question and answer session. I'm going to try and touch on subjects about the fight game that maybe aren't the general theme of things in the main. So we're going to invite readers to write in with the questions. I've got a very extensive history in the fight game, been over 28 years, 41 now, still going strong. Boxing, MMA, kickboxing, fought at a high level all my life. A lot of the famous fighters, engaged with a lot of the famous fighters, teammates, sparring partners, such things. So I've got a lot of history in the fight game, a lot of experience, and the right to speak about things that I've experienced and that I know to be true. So the first question that we've had this week is from a young fella who's the question he fed to me by the editor, and the question is this: why do fighters fear the knockout so much? Now, if you take men in general, and then fighting men even more so, we have a highly developed sense of pride and ego, I suppose you could say. So to be knocked out could for many fighters, and it is catastrophic. It's a catastrophic event. I've experienced it myself. As a younger man, I'm more mature now, so the effects would not be the same because I can deal with that, the feelings and the emotions of it. But say for instance you took a young fighter, and that young fighter is a very skillful fighter, that young fighter's beating everybody, or you take another fighter who's got a lot of power, and that power's knocking people out, and then all of a sudden either in a spar or in a contest they meet someone of equal proportions and the same happens to them. Now you've got to be a very, very special fighter to get to the end of your career without ever being stopped or put down or whatever in the gym or in a fight. So it's a sport at the end of the day, we forget that. But what's happened is there's been this falsehood attached to it, because, and I'll explain what I mean, is that in any other sport in the world you can lose apart from the fight game. Now you can lose in the fight game, but if you get knocked out for your loss in the fight game, you are seen as finished by most. It's a sad indictment really of how that's developed, because if you think about it logically, why should that be the case? It shouldn't be. At the end of the day, you're engaging in a sport, and in that sport there's a very high probability that you could be hurt and you may not be defending yourself appropriately. So many reasons why, and all these theories about glass chins and he's got no heart and this and that and the other. I'll tell you now, for most fighters that's a falsehood. For certain fighters it is, we are all individuals at the end of the day, but at the same time a fighting man is a fighting man, and it takes a special man to be able to put himself through that sort of pressure. But that said, that doesn't take away from the fact that if you get knocked out, why should that indicate that you're finished as a fighter? Take one prime example of this to give evidence to it. Amir Khan was a fantastic amateur. He was setting the world alight as a pro, and then he met Breeders Prescott. Breeders Prescott caught him. Breeders Prescott had a great punch. Breeders Prescott's a fighter. Maybe the same high level of achievement as Khan as an amateur, but the guy is a good fighter. Now because of that one loss, people were writing Khan off. Suddenly he was shite, he was no good, he was going nowhere. Now how can you do that to a fighter with such skill, such a highly developed sense of himself in terms of what he's achieved, and then all of a sudden overnight he's written off? The press, the promoters, they all have a part to play in this, because at the end of the day they've sort of created this misnomer, because it is a misnomer, but fighters actually believe in it. That's the sad part about it. So a fighter who gets stopped, that can spell the end of his career. It's happened many times. It happens to many famous fighters. It happens to fighters who people probably haven't even heard of, but that can spell the end of a career. One knockout, even in the gym, I'll tell you this for a fact, I've seen many fighters never recover from it. So this illusion that you are finished is believed. It's a madness to me, because even though I was knocked out live on Sky Telly in front of millions, I woke up. I did wake up, yeah, because I was probably asleep at the time. But when I woke up with a smile on my face, and I was able to do that because I knew I'd given my best ever. I give my best effort, I should say. I given all of myself to that contest. So I ended it valiantly or valiantly. On my shield or with it is a phrase I use, but the point I'm making is that I come to terms with it quickly because I knew what it was about, I knew what I was engaging in, and other fighters need to realise that if they're going to partake in the sport seriously, they need to accept that. They need to accept this part of the sport, and the fans need to accept that. Why should the fighter be finished because you're being knocked out? What does that mean? Is a football team finished because they lose a few weeks on the row? Is any other sport being finished because they have a loss? No, they're not. Fighting, it's a sport, the same should apply. So, fighters fear the knockout is the question, and the reason they do is because of all those attributing factors that I've just explained, and I think that explains it clearly. Any other questions, please write into MMA Latest and I will be sure to answer them. I know a lot of famous fighters, I know a lot about the fight game, the emotional content, the mental aspects of it. So maybe I can just give another little slant on things in an honest way, because I'm an honest fella. Been great speaking with you. See you soon. Goodbye.